Hi, everyone. Welcome. It's a full house. I actually can't believe this. I think this is one of the few times we have filled up this room at Station F. Nice job, CZ.
Thank you for having me here. Thanks for
You have
attending.
quite a following. So it's an honor to have you with us here. This is an Ask Me Anything session. So for those of you that are here for the first time or doing one of these for the first time, you can ask him anything. And I checked with him and he said anything. So please go for it. So I'm going to do.
I might not know the answers.
We'll see what he knows. So I'm going to do 30 minutes, and then I'm going to open it up so you guys can already start thinking about the questions that you want to ask. So CZ, CEO of Binance, it's an honor to have you here. And because this is a Ask Me Anything, I'm going to start with a bit of a personal question. When you were little, there was no crypto. You couldn't have possibly imagined that this is what you would be doing today. What did you want to be when you were little?
Actually, when I was a little kid, like 7, 8 years old, when I have a little bit of a young boy, I wanted to be a pilot. But then
Airplanes.
Yeah, but then 2 years later, I discovered I have a color deficiency, like color blindness. On the little test, I always see the color that the color blind people see. So you can't be a pilot. So that got destroyed pretty quickly. And then I wanted to be a scientist. So that's when I was like 10, 12-ish.
And what led you to crypto?
So I came to crypto in mid-2013 on a poker table. I was playing with Bobby Lee and Ron Zhao. They're very good friends of mine. And Bobby Lee was going to become the CEO. He became the CEO of BTC China, which is one of the oldest running cryptocurrency exchanges. But that was just before he was going to become that. And then Ron Zhao was the managing director of Lightspeed China. He was going to invest $5 million into his venture, which at the time is a big deal. And Bobby told me, he said, CZ, you should learn about Bitcoin and probably put about 10% of your net worth into Bitcoin. There's a small chance they will go to zero, and there's a higher chance you might do 10x, and then you double your net worth. Was said in a fairly serious way. So I was like, okay, that's pretty serious. I better read about this. So read about the white paper. I understood the technology pretty quickly, but for it to work, it needs a community. So end of 2013, I went to a conference in Las Vegas. The same crew that's in crypto today was there. Vitalik was there, Charlie Lee was there, Matt Rosick was there, Brock Pierce was there. Back then, when you read about it in the news, it's always Bitcoins used by drug lords. But the group of people I met, the young geeks, they're just young developers, young entrepreneurs. Vitalik was 19 when I first met him. So it's a bunch of kids, well, not kids, but a bunch of young people that are very, very technology driven. I thought, look, if that's the community behind it, I can jump full time in. So after that, I would not recommend this. But after that, I sold my house, quit my job, got into crypto.
Wow. So you went full in. That's awesome. And it sounded like you started getting interested by it way before you actually launched the company.
Yeah, so I quit my job, joined the industry without having a job. Bobby Lee did try to hire me into BTC China. For whatever reason, I didn't. I joined blockchain.info, which has the largest user base at the time for the blockchain explorer and also a on-chain wallet, meaning that they don't hold custody of people's funds. So I joined that for a little bit, and then I worked at a couple other exchanges for a little bit. And then 2015, I wanted to start my Bitcoin exchange in Japan because I just left OKCoin at that point. But I don't speak Japanese very well, so that idea got shot down pretty quickly. But there was 2 other guys with me. There's 3 guys doing a startup. And probably a lot of you guys can relate to that. While I was quitting, 2 other guys would have been working with me for like over 8, 10 years. They said they also lost their jobs or they quit their jobs, and then they wanted to do something together. So the 3 of us said, oh, we're all developer backgrounds, but I at that point is probably no longer a very good programmer. I haven't been writing a lot of code for a while. Those 2 guys are very good developers. We said, and they were based in Tokyo. So we said, let's run a Bitcoin exchange in Japan. That was right after Mt. Gox was going down. Well, Mt. Gox went down. It was still pretty vacant in Japan. But none of us speak Japanese. But I was the guy doing the fundraising because I was the senior guy. So I was speaking to investors in Japan, and they all said, look, I was the CTO of OKCoin. So I had the reputation slightly, and they kind of trust, we can build a platform. We mocked up the demo pretty quickly. The demo looked beautiful, but nothing on the back end. It's just like front end UI, charts, order book flashing. So all the investors said, oh, this technology is great, but you should talk to the other exchanges in Japan to sell them the technology. So we ended up doing that instead of running the Bitcoin exchange. So between 2015 and 2017, we were running exchange as a cloud service, as a service. So if you want to run an exchange, you buy your domain name, we give you an IP address, you point that to the domain name, to the IP address, and then you have a full flashing exchange. We did that for 30 clients. Actually, majority of the clients were actually not even crypto. There was a cultures exchange business in China that was booming. So we did that for 2 years. In 2017, March 2017, the Chinese government shut down all the cultures exchanges. So overnight, we lost about 80% of our clients. And we said, well, what are we going to do? So when one opportunity goes away, more opportunities come up. We said, well, let's pivot into doing crypto exchange. Let's pivot back to doing crypto to crypto exchange. At the time, Poloniex was the biggest exchange in the world. They were trading about $100 million per day, and they're charging 2%. So they're making $2 million a day. I was like, wow, that's fantastic. It's a large market. So we want to take a shot. Yeah, and Bittrex were coming up as well. So those are the two biggest exchanges in the world. Yeah, so that's why we started in 2017. So that's kind of the crypto journey before Binance.
Wow, that's incredible. I love all the elements in there. And so you've told us, I mean, I think everybody who's here knows that you're one of the biggest crypto exchange platforms, but tell us in your own words what Binance does.
So Binance started as a cryptocurrency exchange, but today I would describe Binance as a crypto ecosystem. And I typically like to position Binance as a platform of platforms. So we have an exchange that's relatively profitable. We have an investment arm, Binance Labs, which invests in multiple projects around the world, only in crypto. Because in crypto, we can give much more value add in addition to the money we invest. We can help crypto projects do token designs, what we call token economics. I think, humbly speaking, I think we probably seen most of the token economic designs in the industry. We have to look at every single coin in the industry for listing. We want to list the best coins, etc. We can help entrepreneurs design the token economics so that they are protective of users and also encouraging for the entrepreneurs, but also long-term driven. So we don't like people cashing out in 2 years and abandon their projects. We can do the initial sale for them, Binance Launchpad. That's the strongest backing that we can give to projects. When we invest in a project, that's the lowest form of endorsement to backing for projects, because if the project doesn't do well, we just lose our own money. When we do the initial sale, we're pushing the projects to our users. We're pushing a relatively early stage project to our users. If those projects don't do well, our users lose money. We hate that. And then after the initial sale, we can do listings, we can give you liquidity, etc. Every single project in the crypto space wants to list on Binance. So liquidity is really important. If you get listed on large exchange with higher liquidity, you typically get a lot more users and a lot better prices and a lot more funds to work with. One very good example is recently we launched a fan token for Lazio, which is not a top tier team in Italy. Their fan token market cap overtook PSG, which is a top tier global popular sports team that was launched on a smaller platform. So having that liquidity is really important. So we only invest in projects that have to do with crypto. But yeah, so today we want to be that platform that helps other platforms to grow. So we have the largest spot platform, fiat to crypto platform, futures platform. We have one of the most downloaded crypto wallets, Trust Wallet. We also have the most visited website in crypto, CoinMarketCap, which is a website for crypto information. We have the second largest NFT marketplace, but ours was only launched about 3 months ago. The other one's been there for 3 years.
So, CC, what do you not do in the crypto space?
I don't do much. So I personally don't do very much. I still spend a little bit of time running the sort of centralized exchange, which is a business I know. For all the other businesses or all the other projects, I don't really get involved. I actually know very little about them. So again, we want to provide the platform, the funding, and the infrastructure for them to grow. We do give our sub teams or like portfolio projects a lot of autonomy. They do what they want to do. We try to help them, and then I'm not an expert in most of those areas. I came from the sort of exchange trading systems kind of business, so that's the only part I know. But we have one key metric we measure. So we do hold everybody. We give them a large degree of freedom, but we hold them on one key metric that we measure: users. So if you can build something that a lot of people use, great. If you don't, then after a few months, we ask you to repivot or wind down, etc.
Or kill.
Or kill.
Or kill. Okay, super. So yeah, it sounds like you guys are essentially the powerhouse of the crypto ecosystem. Tell me a little bit, because I want to come back to what you said about your investments and stuff like that. We'll get a chance to talk about it. But I want to understand from you how the crypto ecosystem has changed from the time that you started Binance to today. What have been the big major changes?
Sure. I think very simply, in 2013, most of the crypto exchanges are Bitcoin exchanges, and what we call it the Bitcoin industry. Blockchain wasn't talked about that much. 2015 was the time when the governor of the Central Bank of China said that they want to invest in blockchain technology, and then suddenly overnight, the Bitcoin industry in China became the blockchain industry. Everyone calls themselves a blockchain company instead of a Bitcoin company. 2017 was the ICO year, so every coin was doing ICOs thanks to Ethereum, which started in 2014-ish. The ERC-20 mechanism that anyone can create a token very easily. So 2017 was the sort of ICO year. Many projects, ICO may have a bad name, but the killer app is blockchain fundraising globally, which is something that you cannot do using fiat money. If you use euros, US dollars, you cannot raise money in that way with your future users in a global fashion very quickly. So we raised $15 million worth in Bitcoin over 2 weeks. So we just had a 20-page white paper. We did a lot of online streaming shows, etc. That mechanism still works today for strong projects. So that's what I call a killer app. So 2017 was just that, really. And then 2020, now in the last couple of years, 2020 we have DeFi. So Uniswap created that, and DeFi is pretty big now. And then we have NFTs in 2021. We now have GameFi. Axel Infinity was a project we facilitated. We invested, facilitated through a Binance Launchpad. Now it's doing really, really well. And then now we have NFTs. We have sports fan tokens. We also have SocialFi kind of coming up soon. We see a bunch of projects in the space cracking that. Hopefully that will become a thing. So today the market is much bigger than, the use cases that are much bigger than before.
Super, and from an investment perspective, what are you focusing on? Which one of these trends are you jumping on board?
So we don't really try to pick sectors. We invest in all of the sectors mentioned above, plus more, plus payments, plus marketplaces, other random things. We ideally look for people who already have a little bit of traction building users. Well, even if it's a small number of users, if they show a growth path, that's usually good. If they're pre-launch, means that they have no products, then we have to look at the team, we have to look at different things. But pre-launch, we usually invest very little bit, just to make sure that we can get them over the bump to see if their idea needs to be repivot, etc. So my advice for people is to get users as quickly as possible. But anything crypto related, we're open to. Even if it's a traditional like financial system, like traditional payment processor with some crypto support, we'll be open to invest. But if it's not crypto related, we don't touch.
Okay, so you guys heard it. Users matter when you want to pitch in your projects later. Coming back to Binance, you guys hit 1 billion valuation in 6 months.
So we actually hit $1 billion in profit in 6 months.
In profit in 6 months. Oh, I got that totally backwards. Wow. How?
So So we're very lucky that we're in an industry that was growing really, really quickly. So if you look at the Bitcoin price from July 2017 to December 2017, the Bitcoin price went from about 3,000 US dollars to about 19,000 US dollars. We are in, and interestingly, we started in July 2017, and we were like a new startup. And from 2013 till today, every single day, there's probably 200 new crypto exchanges going live. So it's a very competitive industry. We own CoinMarketCap, so every day there's more than 200 exchanges trying to get listed on CoinMarketCap. There's more than coins. From July we're a startup. To December we became the world's largest crypto exchange in 6 months. So we're gaining market share at that point. At that same point, while we're gaining market share, we were breaking records. I believe we're the fastest startup to reach $1 billion in profit in human history. So while we were gaining market share, we were not burning money. We were breaking records on profitability, which is not our strength. It's just the strength of the industry. We work in an industry where we facilitate the flow of money. Different people have different definitions of Bitcoin, crypto. They sometimes call it currency, sometimes call it assets, sometimes call it commodities. But fundamentally, it's valuable. We're facilitating the exchange of value at a very high volume. And in our industry, for our business, we have a very simple business model. We don't have ads. We don't sell data. We just charge a commission fee. It's a very small fee. It's 0.02% on average. But that's enough. So thanks to the industry that was growing so quickly. To be very frank, when you're working in an industry that touches money, and if you're especially for the exchange, what I describe typically is if currencies are the blood of an economy, the exchange is really the heart. When you're that close to that kind of flow, then the business model becomes very simple. So that makes the business model extremely simple. We don't have to worry about strategy. We don't have to worry about raising money. We just have to worry about building a good product, good service, and very strong ethical values. We protect our users at every turn. So once you have all those three things, you grow very quickly. So we got very lucky in that way. Yeah.
Super. So you told us a bit about the business model, the product. Tell us about the company. Who are the people building this? How many people are you? Where are they based? What are they doing?
Sure. So we started. 2015, we started that technology exchange infrastructure, exchange as a service technology company. We started in Tokyo, but then we had a lot of clients in Shanghai. So I was spending quite a bit of time in Shanghai. We built a team of 30 people in Shanghai by the time we started Binance. So Binance had a starting team of 30 people. We kind of pivoted that company into Binance. We started in July 2017. By September 2017, the Chinese government issued a memo saying that exchanges are no longer allowed, crypto exchanges are no longer allowed in China. So we had about $15 million that we raised. And in September, we're actually not even profitable. So all the profits were made about in 3 months. And we thought, okay, let's move the team. But we had enough users. So we had users from China at the time accounted for just under 20% of our users. So 80-something% of our users come from global users. Another unique factor is we were probably one of the only first startups to grow in 180 different countries at the same time, because thanks to blockchain. Because we started as a crypto-to-crypto exchange, so we didn't accept fiat dollars, euros, dollars, we didn't touch that. So people have to deposit Bitcoin or Ethereum using the blockchain onto the platform, and then they can buy other coins, trade with other crypto. Because the blockchain has no boundaries, anywhere anybody can interact with the blockchain. So any person in the world can use our platform. And we supported 9 languages very quickly within a month. And then by month 2, we supported 20-something languages. Today, we support 31 languages, and our customer support is available in 17 languages. So we always had a very global mindset. Where we were doesn't matter that much. So we were able to grow users from a lot of different countries at the same time. And because we had 80% users outside of China, we said, well, if China shut down, then we just move out of China. We had a relatively small team. We had a little bit of money. We can just move them out. So we did move most of them to Japan. And then Japan was, in October in 2017, they started licensing exchanges, which is very positive. In April 2017, Japan recognized Bitcoin as a currency. So that's very that's like way earlier than most other countries. We thought that that's gonna be very favorable. But when we went there, the exchange registrations have severe limitations on what the exchange should look like. You can only list about 20 coins. At the time, we already had 100, and so that was the main limitation for us. So again, Japan didn't work. We said, okay, let's distribute the team. So we just said, well, we went to Malta, but we just distributed the team globally. Today, we didn't really, until earlier this year, we didn't really have an office, really have an headquarters, etc. So we just got away with those concepts. So today we have about just more than 3,000 people globally. They are still spread out in almost every part of the world. But now things are changing. Now given the growth of the crypto industry, the regulators want to regulate this industry. A year ago, we had so many issues with regulators, not because their fault or not our fault, we hope, but when they ask very simple questions like, where's your headquarters? Which to them is a very simple question. To us, it's like, we don't have a headquarters. That obviously creates a lot of problems for the regulators. So we're now changing that. For the centralized exchange business, we understand we need a centralized entity, centralized office, headquarters, shareholders, etc. So we're kind of going back to the centralized model. So yeah, but we have teams all over the world. Yeah, so that's kind of cool.
Super.
Yeah.
3,000 people have a headquarters. That's good.
Yeah.
What do you think of France?
I just wish I came to France earlier. So France was actually one of the earliest adopters of crypto regulation. France had crypto regulations very early on, and on this trip, but like what you learn about countries remotely and what you read in the news is also always often a little bit different from what you encounter in person. To be very frank, I think France has a little bit of a sort of laid-back reputation globally, etc., and sort of less open.
You don't say.
Yeah, but once on this trip, once you get here, I did interact with multiple regulators, government agencies, etc., and they're very open-minded. They're very pro business, pro innovation, and they're very pro blockchain, pro crypto. So I think this is actually a fantastic place for us to be. Actually, just for the last 2 years, I wasn't able to travel because of COVID. So I wish I came earlier to discover this. So now we are in the process of registrations, licensing, get a local registration, local licensing in France. We want to set up a local crypto licensed exchange, and then we also want to, in parallel, regardless of that, given the tech talent that's available here, we want to set up an R&D center here. And then if those things do go well, I think France is a very obvious place for a regional headquarters. If that goes well, then we may even want to move our global headquarters. Yeah.
Wow, that's a teasing. That's amazing. I'm going to ask my last question, and then I'm going to turn it over to you guys. I obviously didn't ask all the questions I wanted to ask, so I'm counting on you guys to fill all the questions in for me. So yeah, you were mentioning, your view of France and how you kind of thought that this might be a great place to base more of your team, maybe even a headquarter. You guys made an announcement even recently, a pretty big announcement, 100 million size announcement. Can you tell us a bit more about that?
Sure. So I think I think that's just a first step, to be honest. We already spent 2 out of that 100, I think, over the weekend. So we want to do a few different things here. The first thing, obviously, we want to establish the R&D center, which will require some investment in the local economy. We want to hire people, have a proper office, and hire people. Get a decent sized office and bring people on. And we want to focus on tech talent, tech product, etc. So that will probably be at least 40–50% of the allocation, and then the other 20–30% we want to do investments. We want to invest in the local crypto scene, the local crypto communities. So we want to boost, help increase the presence of crypto growth, crypto blockchain industry growth. The third part is we want to push more education. We have a platform called Binance Academy. It's completely free. There's probably 400 articles, videos on different topics, mostly targeted at general public, fairly basic. What's a crypto? What's a private key kind of thing. It is already available in French, and we want to push that more. That's more online self-learning. We also have something called a Binance Masterclass, which we have been pushing very heavily in less developed countries like Africa. The year before COVID happened, we did 250 masterclasses. They were in real live sessions, kind of similar like this. Every session was attended by 300 to 500 people. And after COVID, we moved it to online, and each session is actually attended by more people, 1,000 to 2,000 people. So we want to be able to do that in France, so masterclass. The fourth component is we have a charity arm. We always want to give back to our communities. So I was taking on a tour for Chateau de Versailles. Really loved it, and they convinced me, and we committed to donate for 2 million euros to restore one of the rooms. It's called the Bullseye's room.
Is that the 2 million that went over the weekend?
So that's committed. I think we're in the process of sending that. So, so I think the 100 million is going to go by pretty quick at this rate.
Surely. Thank you so much. All right, I'm going to open it up to the audience. If you can raise your hand, we will have a mic come to you. Please ask a question. Don't make a general comment. Those are always really awkward. And this is filmed, so please behave.
Hello.
We'll start here.
Thank you very much for this intervention. I had a question about the Metaverse. I wanted to know your opinion about it, and if you thought that it was the future NFT and of technology.
Sure. Give you my personal take on it. I'm not an expert. Let me disclaim that. So I have not really interacted with metaverses that much myself. I've had some limited interactions, mainly because I'm busy running. There's so many different things going on. But I do think metaverse is huge. Actually, I'll put a really outrageous statement out there. I believe almost 100% believe we're living in a simulation. So this is already a metaverse already. So that's a long story. So I will not go into a lot of detail. But in this simulation, we're simulating other metaverses. So I think metaverse will be quite big. I had a little bit of interaction. The 14-year-old kids that invites me to play with them in metaverses. You go in there, they say, hey, you're a default. I'm like, what does a default mean? So you have the default avatar, default clothes, and everything. So now you have to buy stuff to not be a default. And so they say they live there, and so I think that's the future. So which metaverse is gonna win, or how big a metaverse is gonna be, I don't know. But I think actually like a while ago, one of my friends told me that for investments and for looking at the future, always follow the young generation. So always follow the 14-year-old, 15-year-old kids. They may not, but where they spend time is usually where things will develop. So from that perspective, I think metaverse is gonna be quite big. And I think I actually do believe metaverse is gonna, in a large extent, replace how we interact with social media. So I think Facebook's quite smart in sort of pivoting, and I think Mark Zuckerberg probably have a lot of data to show him that this pivot is good. So so I think it has a huge potential, and it's also very, very good for crypto. In the metaverse, a lot of transactions, a lot of interactions will be, because now metaverse is built post crypto. So now crypto exists, and now the next stage of social media will have crypto built in, and that will also help the adoption and the usage of crypto. So I think it's going to be huge. Yeah.
Where's our next question? Raise your hand when you have the mic. Thank you. Over here.
We see more and more countries of grouping of entities that like the UI develop or studying crypto money. I'm referring to the European Central Bank, which has just announced the launch of the 2-year study phase around the digital euro project, with a fundamental difference with price of the digital euro will be guaranteed by a central bank, which avoid any volatility. From your point of view, do cryptocurrencies as a meaning of payments as they are not indexed? I mean, a future, and more broadly, do the volatility of crypto is the major problem of the interest of crypto?
Okay, there's a couple points there we could and try to address. I think the first point is the central bank digital currencies in general, not just the digital euro. I think if it's issued by a central bank, it has some advantages, but it may also have some limitations. A central bank issued digital currency or digital euro have strong trust among the sort of mass consumers, or what we call the population. Because today we use a currency that's backed by the government, that's no longer backed by gold or anything else. So it's that strong trust is there. And they can also facilitate strong adoption. They can make all the banks, all the financial institutions, even the startup financial service providers to adopt it. So that's good. It helps crypto in a lot of ways. It validates the blockchain technology. So now people will now question about blockchain technology, or people question about blockchain technology less. And it also serves as a strong educational portal, because now the central banks or the governments are pushing this. It's a great educational effort. And when people learn about blockchain, digital currencies, they have to learn about Bitcoin. There's just no way around it. People will learn about it. And when they learn about Bitcoin, there will be a few different properties that are different from the central bank digital currencies. Most central bank digital currencies will not be limited supply. Bitcoin is limited supply. So with the amount of quantitative easing that went on in the last few years, inflation will kick in. So different people will have different preferences on where they store their value or assets. And most central bank digital currencies will have the same restrictions they have in the fiat currencies. Give you a couple examples. For example, if you want to take $1 million in China, want to invest in a project, startup project here, it's going to be pretty difficult. China have a foreign currency control of only $50,000 per person per year. If you take more than that, you can apply. The process will be long. It will be quite onerous. It will probably take 6 months to a year. And because of the length it takes, you'll be relatively high cost, your time, your staff time, etc. Whereas if you use a digital currency, then you avoid those kind of issues. For digital currency payments, I believe there are multiple reasons that it has not really taken off. One is the price volatility. I think that's a smaller problem, to be honest. The bigger problem is a two-sided problem. It's a two-sided market. Today, with the crypto adoption today, probably less than 5%. You go to a merchant and say, look, you can install this terminal and you can accept Bitcoin or BNB or whatever. And you'll get like maybe a 1% or 5% more users. And all of those users have fiat currencies. The merchants have no incentive to do that. And with the merchants not adopting it, then the users doesn't have anywhere to pay, so the payment doesn't take off. Payments is one of the most obvious use cases for crypto. It's in the Bitcoin white paper, but it hasn't really taken off. We are taking another step at it, may or may not be successful. So now we have Binance Card, which is accepted anywhere Visa is accepted. So the merchants continue to accept in fiat. They don't even know the guy's paying crypto. But when you swipe the card, at the time of swipe, crypto gets deducted from your Binance.com account. So this way we can grow the user side of it. Once the user side of it reaches 10-50%, then we can convince the merchants to adopting it directly. So there are more than one issue that prevents crypto being used very successfully as a payment tool. But crypto is used very heavily. Crypto is much easier to use when you make cross-border payments, large payments, or tiny payments, micro payments. So there are multiple considerations there. So so I think I hope I addressed some of the points there. Yeah.
Super. Next question.
Hi. Thank you very much for sharing your journey. It's been very inspiring. So far, we have touched a lot about cryptocurrencies in the consumer space or even B2C space at the moment. And what about B2B? how do you see cryptos as a mean of exchange and payments in the B2B market? Which are the countries that are the most advanced? And how do you see the evolution of regulation regarding B2B payments?
Sure. So B2B is a little bit trickier, to be very frank. We have seen businesses that are very special, we have seen B2B businesses trying to issue cryptocurrencies and try to make that flow in their ecosystem. It doesn't quite work so far. So I think we haven't cracked that part of the equation. Because with B2B, if your ecosystem is purely B2B, there's no consumers trading your coin. You need a large number of users to be trading your coin to have market-determined pricing. And with B2B, unless it's pegged to a stable coin or pegged to a fiat coin or stable coin, then businesses have treasury management, FX fluctuation management considerations. We haven't seen many people cracking it. There are many people experimenting with using blockchain in logistics industries, especially supply chain, etc., to some level of success. But I think those are still relatively preliminary. So at least personally, my feeling is that it hasn't been it's a problem that has not been well solved yet. So, but there are many people experimenting it, and we are encouraging of that. But for a pure B2B business, issuing a token or building a blockchain is great, but I would actually encourage them to use public blockchains as much as possible. Private blockchains is kind of counterintuitive. Blockchains should be open nodes, public nodes, a community maintaining it, etc. Whereas with private blockchains, you can get 10, 20 nodes in your ecosystem, but that doesn't solve a lot of problems. Today, you have a database that works much more efficiently and equally trustworthy. So so I think we haven't seen any significant advances in that area. Yeah.
Over here.
Yeah. Hi. I had two questions. The first one would be, let's say if you want to launch a new cryptocurrency or a new NFT, what would be like the right first steps? You talked about the first clients, but can you a little bit elaborate about this? And the second one very quick would be, how do you explain the NFT trends compared to the cryptocurrency, and what is the real value of it?
Okay, that's two fairly broad and tough questions. So when you issue a token or a coin that's fungible, so you issue a fungible token, I really encourage you to already have a product that's relatively tested. When you issue a token, there's a lot of responsibility, and there's also very difficult to unissue. If you issue a token that's not successful, your reputation gets damaged. And you have a lot of guys losing money who have bought your tokens, and people call you a scammer, etc. So it's pretty nasty. It's actually not good. The little bit of money that you make from selling the token is not worth it. So I typically encourage people to already have a relatively working prototype before they launch a token. So you should raise some money from family, friends, VCs, etc. Those guys can take that hit. And once you experiment enough that you have a viable product and you want to scale, and especially it should be a 2C product, a consumer-driven product. Once you have that, then you can launch a token to accelerate your growth. There's so many benefits of launching a token. You want to make sure that the token economics is right, etc. Launching NFTs is a little bit different. I'm not an expert on NFTs. I don't own almost any. I own like 3 or 5 NFTs that was given to me 3 years ago, and this is before the NFT boom. I have not collected or bought NFTs. I'm not a user of our platform. Because I'm busy running the platform, I'm actually not a user of our platform. So I typically describe myself as I'm the wordsmith, but I'm not the guy who's fighting with a sword. I'm not a kung fu master. So I just make the tools for other people to use. So I'm not an NFT collector. Why NFTs have value? I can share my understandings. NFTs have value in a lot of different ways. You can right click and save an image, but if you don't own the NFT, you still don't own it. For example, the guy who Metacoven, his real name is Vignesh, that spent $69 million to buy the everyday NFT. A few months ago, he was in Singapore. I was very interested to meet him to learn more about NFTs from him. Whereas if you just right click and save that image, you probably don't get that. Why? Because you spend money to buy that NFT, you have access to the original creators, other people in the industry, etc. You also have rights on later commercial rights, but that's a very from the basic level. NFTs can be collected, can be combined, can be used for other purposes. But for NFTs, you have virtual assets in games and stuff like that. But those things don't leave that game. When that game becomes less popular, those things disappear. With an NFT, you can have a virtual item that's NFT'd, and that can be used in that game, and then can be transferred to a different game, and they can be brought onto an exchange that have a price discovery mechanism. And the NFT can be used in future games that's not even made, or future metaverse world that's not even made today. So NFTs have that longevity to it, and NFTs have carry that story of who owned it before. So the story, we have so many museums in Paris, and if you just look at a painting, it's probably less meaningful. When the painting has a story, the painting suddenly is worth a lot more. So there's a lot of those aspects to it. NFTs also have application value. You could concert tickets, for example, could be an NFT. It's on a specific date on a specific seat for a specific event, and it's used by a specific person. That can later on be turned into an NFT. Even the NFT itself can be used for the entrance check. So there's a lot of applications for NFT that may not even be built yet. So at the same time, I personally I'm not a collector, so I don't understand why some NFTs are sold for such high values. So Visa paid $150K for Cyberpunk, which is great. But I probably would not do that. But it's not to say that thing doesn't have value. In this world, if one person is willing to pay for something else, then that thing has value. If there's only one person, then it doesn't have very good liquidity. If a lot of people are willing to pay for that thing, then it has good liquidity. So yeah, I think NFTs, we are in a market-driven price discovery, decentralized world, and so they have value. Whether the values markets do overswing on both sides, sometimes too hot, sometimes too bearish. But yeah, we don't know where we are. So, but I do think NFTs is a huge. Let me step back a little bit. If ICOs of blockchain fundraising is the way that allowed entrepreneurs to raise money globally around the world, that's the mechanism that didn't exist in our fiat currency system still today, then NFTs is another way for artists to monetize their work that was not available to them before NFTs. The artists couldn't do that in the fiat world. They can put a painting in a museum, try to hold an auction, but then it's very limited exposure. Whereas today, NFTs are such high value because they can access the global liquidity of people all around the world. So that's a use case, that's a killer app that didn't exist before. So I think for artists, content creators of any kind, this is a killer app. Any content creator that's not looking at NFTs are missing out quite a lot financially. So whether it's too hot or too cold, I can't comment, but yeah, it is a killer app.
Super, we have one over here.
Thank you so much for sharing. So my question may be a bit technical, but does Binance plan to create a decentralized bridge between BEP2 and BEP20 standards?
Very, very technical, yes. We do plan to, so right now, Binance.com is the biggest bridge for a lot of the tokens on BSC or Binance Chain, the BEP2 or BEP20. So that's the two different token formats that on the two different chains. I actually had a call with some of the developers this morning. Where they told us that they're building more decentralized bridging, which actually works even better. So yeah, that is in progress. I know a bunch of different teams doing that now. Yeah.
Where's our next question?
Hi, thank you very much for coming, first of all, and taking the time to talk to us. I'm in the back of the room.
Can you
my
go
question-
like this so we can see you?
Yeah. I'm
you're in the
actually
way
not
back.
enlightened,
Super.
so you might
Thank
not
you.
see
You're really
me.
at the back. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you very much. So my question was about the 100 million grants that's coming for or to France. My question was how much of that is going to be, I'd say, dedicated to the implementation of BSC in businesses in France, because it would make sense, and I might be wrong, from a business perspective to implement that technology of yours into businesses in France. So is there going to be a part of the budget that's allocated to that? And if it's not, what else is it going to be used for?
Sure. So the 100 million euro is like a just starting figure for France specifically. And then we are more than happy to, we always have a preference to invest in projects that are somehow related to BSC, which you typically help the use cases of BNB, which we are a large holder ourselves as well. So we kind of indirectly benefit from that. So that we do have a slightly stronger preference on that. And BSC actually has a $1 billion ecosystem fund that can deploy globally, and that does not exclude Paris or France. So there's quite a, there's not a whole lot of limits at this stage. The limiting factor for us is not so much the funding that we want to pour in, it's really just our ability to identify good projects. There are many good projects out there. We may not come into contact with all of them, and we have a small team that looks at. We have a small investment team that gets bombarded by people from all over the place, and it's actually there's a lot of noise. So it's actually quite difficult for them to filter out the strong projects. So that's actually the limiting factor. So being able to present your projects in a good way is important. And now we are now building a presence in France. Will make that communication a lot easier. You may be able to access multiple different people of our team, which may not even be part of our investment team. But when they say good things about different projects, then that's a very strong backing for the labs teams, for the invest teams to take a closer look at it. So hopefully things will get easier for projects in France.
Super. Delphine will take your question. Greg, we have one question down here, and then we're going to close questions. So you guys can try and get a question in with CZ after.
Hello. So here. My question isn't that technical regarding of the previous one, but so as a novice, I am investing in cryptocurrencies, and I started from Coinbase, but regarding the fees, I am more searching another exchange such as yours, so Binance, or FTX, but I don't know which one to choose. And
choose Binance.
Yeah. So
simple answer.
My question is, why do I have to choose Binance? Because I have main issue regarding these choose, because of the issue dealing with the bank transfers from Binance to bank, and I don't know how to solve it, any alternative, and etc. So that's it.
Sure. This is a very practical question, but it's also a good question that can do a lot of advertising. Let me address the issues first. We did lose a couple good SEPA channels. Like 3 months ago, we have very good SEPA channels for Europe. So it makes it very easy for Europeans to deposit money into Binance and out. Due to mainly the UK FCA regulatory warning, consumer warning, we lost a couple of channels. But good news is, I think in a few weeks we'll get those back. The UK FCA have updated their comments. Yeah. So I guess a lot of people do use the SEPA channels here. So it is important. So we apologize for the interruption, but the FCA have updated the notice, etc. We're working on to get that back. So we should get that back in a few weeks, and that does make it very inconvenient in the time being. Speaking of choosing exchanges, there are many different exchanges in the world. They serve different purposes. There are a few different considerations. Security is usually number one. So security-wise, the larger the exchange, usually the better, to be very frank. The large exchanges can invest hundreds of millions of dollars into security practices. The economy of scale makes sense. We can invest hundreds of millions, even sometimes close to billions of dollars on security. And because of the large user base, it makes sense. Whereas for smaller exchanges, they can't do that because they just don't have the user base to be able to spend that kind of money. And we also hire the top experts from all over the world on security. So the same thing with liquidity. The large exchanges have liquidity, which will give you much better prices when you buy and sell. Liquidity is much more important than fees. You actually will save a lot more on exchanges with better liquidity. On fees, we want the lowest fee exchanges in the world. So our strategy is always lowest fee, large number of users, and we have relatively decent incomes. Large exchanges typically will have a solid business model where they don't need to scam their users, rug pulls, make small amounts of money here and there. We do everything to protect our users. We want the long-term larger user base. We want the long-term financial with the long-term growth. So, but there are other factors like the coin offerings on different exchanges. We have a pretty large selection on Binance.com, but there are other user preferences. Our Binance.com is a pretty complex UX. We have too many different products crammed into one app. Some of the Western users prefer, a simple app, which we're trying to adapt. We have a simple version. Customer support is also very important. I wouldn't say we're very, very good. I think we're decent. Early this year, we got so swamped that our customer support actually dropped. But now we ramped up, so we're fixing that again. And when we started 4 years ago, if you submit a support ticket in the crypto industry, you'll wait for 2 months. And this is when your Bitcoin's stuck on an exchange and the price is fluctuating. You can't really do anything. So we thought that was bad. We made the mandate of we respond to everything within 24 hours, and then everybody followed, ideally within an hour. So today we have live chats. Most chats are picked up within 20 minutes. It's still a little bit of a longer wait than I would wish. A couple months ago, we got it down to 5 minutes. But now the volume is ramping up again because Bitcoin price went up. So service is really important. You want an exchange that can service you when your withdrawals get stuck, etc. So all of those factors are very important. And then the core values of the exchange is very important. You want to use an exchange that doesn't. I want to convince you to use exchange that does not maximize profits. That does not maximize shareholder value. So I say that openly all the time. And our shareholders are typically our team, and we share the same value. So there are things you want to look into. The other exchanges there are strong exchanges other strong exchanges in the crypto space. So and most users do multi-home. So they do use a few different exchanges at the same time. So try a few different ones, see what you like. I hope you will like ours.
Super. We'll take this one last question down here.
Hi. Thanks a lot for the presentation. Again, it was wonderful. And it's the first and last time I think I will have the chance to have you in front of me. So
you never know. You never know.
I hope. And I'm going to be really honest and ask the question maybe some of others would love to ask. If you are in Paris like tomorrow, would you have like 10 minutes to offer to a young student that wants to hold the market in the crypto industry?
I am in Paris tomorrow, but I believe that tomorrow's schedule is extremely packed.
No.
I think Arnold was just trying to figure out like a half an hour session here and there. Yeah, thanks to some of our friends here, they really packed my schedule. So I won't be able to squeeze anything in tomorrow. But I'm quite open to questions. Today, unfortunately, I don't even. There was a time where I was able to respond to most questions back then we were using Slack chat. And then we had a Telegram group, and then it scrolls too fast because Telegram goes like 50,000 people. I can't answer every question there. And I started using Twitter. On Twitter, I don't see all the incoming ones, but do try to tweet at me. I do look at the mentions for me. And then we also have our team here, which if you have questions, you can they will be more than happy to engage. I do intend to come back to France. I'm staying 2.5 weeks this trip. So COVID changed my travel plans. Before I stayed 3 days in one city, so airport, hotel, and a bunch of meetings in the airport. with COVID, we lost 2 years without traveling. I never thought I would look forward to traveling so much. But now I want to spend a bit longer time in each country, and I do intend to spend a significant amount of my time in Paris and in France. So so I do intend to visit as many universities as I can. We want to do on-campus recruiting, on-campus lectures, seminars, etc. And we want to tap into the local talent both at the young level and also at the senior levels. So I do look for more opportunities to engage with our community. I think given the size of our user base and given the size of our fans, I do try to be as reachable as I can. I relocate about 20% of my time doing interacting with our communities, doing chats like this, etc. But I won't be able to reach everyone. But more than happy to address any questions people ask. Yeah.
Nice try. All right, well, this has been wonderful. Also, I recommend you check out the Academy online that he mentioned earlier. Thank you, has been wonderful. Do you have any last thoughts, comments you want to share with the group here tonight? We are 300 people. I can't believe how full, and you guys stayed till the end. This is incredible.
Not much. I mean, I do want to share one thing. So I figured that there was only like 10 or some out of the 1,000 startups in this on this campus or in this facility. Only 10 or 15 are blockchain related. I do encourage most founders to start learning about cryptocurrencies, mainly for your business. Issue and token is a very, very strong tool. It's not so much about selling the tokens to get some money. That's probably 10% of the value, 10% or less of the value. When you have a token, it's a very strong user engagement, user retention tool. Historically, there's this thing that I don't believe about maximizing shareholder value, which basically means you want to charge your users and then give those value to your investors. It's a one-way street. Today there's much better formats. When you do when you do an ICO, the guys who buy your tokens are most likely your future users. And if you can grow your user base quickly enough, those tokens price will most likely increase. When the token price increases, your users now using your product and holding your coins now benefit financially directly. And those guys will become your best sales guys. They will get all their friends into your platform, and they will get their parents into your platform. And then you can do things like you can do airdrops. You can do if they're signing every day, you give them some tokens. You can do so much things with tokens that you couldn't do with traditional equity, traditional stocks, etc. That creates such a strong retention engagement tool. The possibilities are endless. That I think is about 80 to 90% of the value. And then you typically will hold a small portion of the tokens yourselves, like we did. We actually hold a pretty significant portion, but most of which will burn. But when you hold that, the appreciation in value over time, you'll get another 10% of value. But issue and token is not about selling a token, just be done with it. It's a user engagement tool. It's a user acquisition tool. And lastly, for the people who are getting into crypto, do not invest in large amounts right away. So try with a very small amount. Use your own wallet, use a centralized exchange. The main reason is you want to learn about the security practices. If you don't secure your own coins on your computer well, you will lose it. If you don't secure your exchange account well, if your computer gets hacked and the hacker has your email and password, and if you don't have 2FA, even if you have 2FA, if it's a SMS 2FA, they may even be able to hack it. You may lose your crypto. So try with small amounts, learn how it works, and learn whether you like it or not. Not 100% of you may like it. So start with very small amounts when you dab into this industry. But I do highly encourage you to learn about it. It is the future of finance. It is the future of money. And if you don't understand that kind of future, you're building in the past. This is like the internet is already happening. You're still building a brick and mortar bookstore. Don't do that. It's a bad idea. So that's my closing words. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much.
Super. Oh, thank you. Thank you, guys. I'll let you guys leave through the back. Please be careful of the other people in the room.